All right, friends, Ryan Dorn here, and on behalf of the magazine manager and the newspaper manager, thrilled to be chatting with you. I wouldn't say thrilled because COVID has ravished the United States and our advertisers, but really happy to be here chatting with you about getting these advertisers back, and more than anything, getting them back to a conversation about advertising and marketing. Now, in the forefront, I'll tell you, there's a couple things in the slide deck today that you've seen me talk about before, but I'm going to spin them a little bit differently. Here's what I find to be pretty interesting, friends. I was recently listening to a sales trainer online that's in the same business that I'm in, and this person literally said, when you talk with your advertisers, ignore that COVID even exists. And I thought to myself, that's really interesting advice. Is that good advice? And I'm here to say, no, it's not good advice. We have to first acknowledge that these advertisers of ours, our partners, have gone through some really trying times, and we're going to help them. We're going to get them back on track and back to business. You can't ignore something as big as COVID-19. And friends, I'm here to tell you, and maybe this is a little pat on the back for me, if you haven't sold anything in the last 10 years, stop teaching sales training. Because how do you teach somebody about selling during COVID-19 or post-COVID when you didn't live through it? So I think it's really important for us to just get that out on the table right away. Hey, I'd love to connect with you online, whether it's Facebook, Ryan Dorn Live, or the Twitter account out over there on the Twitter, or on LinkedIn. All kinds of great stuff is shared from myself, and of course, connect with the folks over at Magazine Manager and the Newspaper Manager as well. All right, tip number 1 of 10 for you today, controlling the narrative. And the reason that controlling the narrative is so important, whether you're saying reboot or you're saying replan or relaunch or reignite or reengage, a lot of people are creating bounce back programs. One of the first groups I saw do a bounce back program was the great folks at Virginia Living magazine, John Lawrence there and his team doing bounce back programs. I thought, man, that's a great way to phrase that. Maybe you're doing some back on track programs, but whatever you do, we've got to control the narrative in a positive way. One of the things that I'm saying to all my advertisers as recently as this morning is my hope is simple. I would like to help you recover, if possible, a portion of what you've lost over the last 70, 80, 90 days, whatever the circumstance is. I'm positioning myself not as a salesperson, but as a helper. But we all know that. We should have been doing that pre-COVID, always positioning ourselves as a helper. But here's the interesting thing, friends, and I've got data, to back it up today. Now more than ever before, advertisers need to advertise. It's important for businesses to market now more than ever before because people have been locked up at home. They're getting back out and about. So when that COVID curtain goes up for them, whatever that means, will they be thinking about you, Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser? So number 1 is we've really got to control the narrative in a very positive way. And it's going to start with those first phone calls we're making. It's going to start with those first Zoom meetings or go-to meetings that we're having with people. So number 2, we've got to be really careful about how we're starting these sales calls. Now, if you've known somebody for an extended period of time, saying, hey, Mike, how's it going? How's your family doing? That would be totally appropriate, especially if you've known Mike for quite some time, as long as I've known Mike. But if I'm calling on people that either haven't done business with me recently or haven't done business in a long time, starting the conversation with, hey, how's your business? Or, hey, how are you doing? Could really start that conversation in a negative way. So what I'm trying to do is I'm not ignoring COVID-19, okay? Be on the lookout for that sales trainer that's on LinkedIn. His name is Jeremy something, that's all I'll say, okay? I'm gonna start with saying things like, hi, John, good news. I've got some ideas to hopefully help you recover what you've lost over the last 80 days. Got a quick second for some new ideas? So that could be a voicemail that I'm leaving. It could be the first phone call that I'm making to somebody. As a matter of fact, this could actually be something that I would include in an email. I'm going to give you some email templates here in a minute, but you can see what I'm trying to do is take a negative situation. We know that it's negative, and I'm trying to reignite conversations. I don't want to start them in a negative way. But one of our go-tos as salespeople is, hi, Bill, how you doing? Hi, Bonnie, how you doing? Hi, Brad, how you doing? How's business? Well, friends, be prepared because it wasn't that long ago that I had an advertiser say to me when I said, hey, how's it going? He said back to me, how the blank do you think it's going? So you just want to be prepared for that. Now, let me just say something in the onset here. It is possible that you're going to call on an advertiser who has unfortunately had a tragedy in their family or their business or something related, besides just losing business, like a tragedy And you're going to run across folks like that. And I think the first thing that you want to do is you just want to back up and just say, I am so sorry. My deepest condolences to you. When the time is right and you need us, we are here to help. I don't even ask when's a good time to call you back, because there might not never be a good time to call them back. So you will run across people where they've had a personal tragedy. And by the way, from my family and to your family, if you've encountered a tragedy during COVID-19, our deepest condolences to you and your family. So you could say something like, hi, Jill, I've got some good news to share. We've got some new affordable marketing ideas or cost-effective marketing ideas to help you bounce back your business or bounce back to business. Do you have a quick second for some new ideas? And I'm going to get to that question in a second. Somebody said, what about those folks that say they don't need to advertise? Yes, they do. We'll give you some advice on that in a second. But point number 2 is really for all of you to take away, and that is that we want to stay as positive as possible. So we go from COVID-19, we go to protests. I mean, who knows what's actually going to be next after that here in this crazy world that we're living in. So as ad sales people, one of the things that we've got to do is we got to stay positive. We've really got to stay positive, folks. And if we don't stay positive, then other people are going to potentially drag the conversation down. So staying positive and controlling that narrative is really, really important. Okay, idea number 3 of 10 for you today is really helping advertisers understand, you've never heard me say this, understand the cattle stampede that's going to occur once marketing really starts again. So we can help advertisers avoid the marketing cattle stampede as companies start marketing again. Okay, so we've got whether you're B2B or consumer, and we've got a lot of you represented on the line, or nonprofit associations, etc. There's going to be what I like to call a cattle stampede or a marketing stampede that's beginning to occur. Now we're sitting here on the 12th of June. A lot of you right now are selling into August. If people are waiting to make decisions too long, what's going to happen is they're going to be in direct alignment with a lot of their other competitors. Because many marketers have delayed their plans and now they're coming back online, there really is this marketing cattle stampede that's taking place. Now, because a lot of us on the call today operate in the print world, we have some radio stations and TV here today as well. So we're radio and TV, we can get to it a little bit faster. But because a lot of you are in the print space, we're actually not going to see the marketing plans in print roll out until July or August. If everybody's pausing and waiting, their share of voice in the publication actually drops because a lot of other advertisers are taking out space. You've heard the old adage, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, if you don't know that adage or didn't hear it from a grandmother, it's basically the person that screams the loudest is going to get the most attention. So when I'm talking with my advertisers that want to delay or they want to roll out later in the fall or whatever the circumstance is, a lot of them just aren't realizing the power that traditional media brings to the occasion. And they're also not thinking about the ramp up time. So the time is now to advertise because their share of voice would be stronger. All right, somebody asked about share of voice. Let me explain that very briefly. If you are a publication, and as an example, within a category, you have 2 advertisers, their share of voice within that category would be 50-50. If you only had 1 advertiser in a category, their share of voice would be 100% within their category. Now, if you want to talk about share of voice across an entire publication or across an entire radio station or whatever, you would take the total number of advertisers and divide it out to come up with their percentage of share as it relates. Now, I try to focus share of voice on a category, not across the entire readership that we potentially have in some type of magazine. Now, after number 3, though, okay, if we recognize that they need to get ahead of the proverbial marketing stampede that's about to occur, the 4th thing we need to focus in on is the recognition that not all marketing is about new business development. Let me let that sink in for a second. Number 4, not all marketing is about new business development. Very often when we're talking with an advertiser, one of the things that I observe is that they think of marketing as a new business acquisition measure. What's interesting is that's actually not the case. That's only a percentage of the case. And that's why, going back to point number 1, we have to control the narrative or somebody else will. Okay, so let me give you an example. A lot of you are working with businesses, consumer or B2B, that have been around for quite some time. For example, an advertiser might say, I don't need to advertise. I've been in the market for 25 years. Everybody knows me. So what I'm doing now is I'm spinning that conversation. Number one, it's probably just a normal sales stopper excuse or objection. So I'm spinning it. So an advertiser says to me, Ryan, I've been in the market for 25 years. I don't need to advertise. My response now, man, that's awesome. Great. You've got some longevity. What we need to do now is pivot. Oh boy, I hate that word anymore. We need to pivot your marketing strategy to more about brand maintenance. Okay, friends, you have never heard me say this. Okay, in all the 15 years I've been in training, 30 years in the business, you've never heard me say anything about brand maintenance. So listen carefully, because I'm about to make you real happy. When an advertiser hears us talking about branding, one of the things they think is, I run a branding ad and I truly spend money and I get nothing back for it. When someone hears branding, they think I'm spending money with you and I get nothing back for it. Now, we all know, because we've been doing this a while, that's not true. So where I'm shifting, and I'd love for you to steal this, is I'm now moving to brand maintenance. So great, you've been in business for 25 years, awesome. Sounds like you need to protect your turf. Let's pivot, let's move, if you will, over to a brand maintenance marketing strategy. I had an advertiser this morning say, sorry, man, not following you. What is brand maintenance? Brand maintenance is really wrapped around all of this understanding. Not all marketing is about new business. About 25% of marketing is really about brand maintenance. It's about protecting your business. Now, where did the 25% come? It comes a little bit from me. It comes from a 10-brand study that I read in eMarketer. Marketers of success realize that brand maintenance is also really, really important. So here's the question that you might consider asking. Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser, how much money do you think you've spent on marketing to get your business to where it is today? How much money do you think? Now, they might say, right, truthfully, I have no idea. Thousands? Hundreds of thousands? Millions? So how much of that are you actually spending to keep your position of dominance in the market? Maybe they're number two. How much are you spending or dedicating to stay number two or to try to keep fighting towards the top? Anybody that says to me, I've got enough business right now, or I've been around for too long, I don't need to advertise. Great, let's start a brand maintenance program with you. What does it look like? And this is what it looks like. So it's important, friends, for us to recognize not all marketing is about new business development. A lot of marketing is about protecting your turf. All right, let's do B2B and let's do consumer. B2B, you're working with a brand, you've called on them, they said, Ryan, our marketing dollars are frozen until fourth quarter. Okay, I heard it just the other day. I'm then able to pivot the conversation. I got to come up with a new word besides pivot. Give me some suggestions. I'm going to pivot, change, turn, move the conversation over towards brand maintenance. All right, I recognize what you're saying. Well, what I'm seeing is that a lot of your competition is actually starting to bark right now. They're starting to make some noise. We're starting to hear them out there. So if you guys pause all the way until the fall and then you start marketing, if you wait until September, it's not until November that I can help you. From a brand maintenance perspective, at the very least, you should be doing something with us to maintain your brand, a brand maintenance campaign of some kind, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The company that's screaming the loudest is the one that's going to get the most attention. Consumer example. Someone says to me, Ryan, I've got enough business. I've been in business for 25 years. Awesome. Let's protect your turf. Let's move from acquisition, new business acquisition. Let's move to brand maintenance, because you need to dedicate a certain amount of the money you're spending to maintaining your brand. You spent money for years to get to this point. Don't stop now so that some little whippersnapper on the corner can pop up with an inferior product at a lower price. And then all of a sudden you're wondering, wow, what happened? Now, some of you recall from a webinar we did a couple months back here, it's been actually a couple months, something that I said, and I keep saying it over and over again. It's always more cost effective to lead the pack than it is to fight from the back. And if you would just memorize that and share it with your advertisers, it is so true. It's always more cost effective to maintain your dominance in a category or to maintain what you've already done than to drop out and try to build yourself back up again. It just costs more money to do that. And it's an important point of note to bring up to all advertisers. So I hope you like that brand maintenance idea. I've never heard anybody talk about it in those terms. If you have and you think I stole the idea, then send me an email and I'll send you $10 or a t-shirt or something like that. All right, number 5, something we have talked about before, but in not a lot of detail. So let's get into a little detail. Point number 5 for you, understanding and being able to explain what is the marketing gap, okay? The marketing gap is the difference between what a company spends and their nearest competitor spends as they try to acquire or maintain a particular customer. So on the bottom is Acme. Acme has said to me, hey, Ryan, we're going to pull back a little bit. We're not going to cancel, but we're going to go from, say, spending $10 a month to spending $5 a month, just as an example. We hope all our advertisers spend more than that, 10 to 5. Well, Acme's nearest competitor doesn't have to spend $10 to create a marketing gap. They just need to spend a little bit more and be a little bit more consistent to create a gap between these two companies from a marketing perspective. When you listen to marketing speakers, some great ones like Seth Godin or Christopher Lester or Jay Baer, B-A-E-R, Jay Baer, people along those lines, Drew Davis, people like that. What they'll tell you is in any given market for any given product, you're looking at needing to be in front of a consumer 10, 20, 30, 40 times before a consumer is going to make a decision to do business with you, Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser. So the marketing gap that's created is real. All right, consumer example. Let's just say that as an example, you've got a realtor and they've continued to advertise through COVID-19 and are showing no signs of letting up in a post-COVID world. Their nearest competitor, who you're going to call on, let's just say that they backed down their marketing 50%. They didn't turn it off, they just backed it down 50%. So they took the volume from 10 to 5. In doing so, they created a gap in their marketing. Now, granted, the gap may not be as big as if they had shut it off completely, but a marketing gap was created. So I want to be able to say to that advertiser, let's talk about the marketing gap that was created when you turned down your marketing, you backed your ad spend down, and others did not. This is what the marketing gap looks like. Now, I know some of you, you're just sales wimps, okay? This is not post-COVID selling of advertising. Friends, it is not a time to be a sales wimp, okay? No time for that. You're going to need to step up your game. You're going to need to be ethical, but be extra bold, okay? You're going to need to put some extra cayenne on that thing, okay? Mucha caliente, my friends. You need to turn up the heat because if you don't, somebody else is going to. Right now, advertisers are being inundated with phone calls, emails, mass emails, etc., from all of us. And what they're doing is they're trying to sort through the good stuff from the shaft. They're trying to pick out where am I going to go or what am I going to do. A lot of them are still either in pause mode or I have no money mode. When someone says to me, I have no marketing budget, Ryan, literally our business was devastated by COVID-19. We don't have a penny. My response, I very much respect what you're saying, but I have a concern. May I share my concern with you? Normally people will say, sure. I would say 99% of the time, sure. What's your concern? My concern is that a marketing gap has been created between you and whoever that competitor is. So when you unfortunately had to make the decision to turn your marketing volume down, this gap began to grow. And now 70, 80, 90 days later, the gap is actually getting pretty big. Now, I know that you say that you don't have any money to market right now. I would just advise you to dig deep. We've got some incentive programs, whether it's an advertising match program, which a lot of you out there are calling AMP programs, AMP, advertising match programs, where you're matching people dollar for dollar. That's a good one. Some of you have put together advertising stimulus programs where you've got a pool of money that people can qualify for, and you use that towards marketing. What I'm not seeing, though, is I'm not seeing publishers, general managers, station owners. I'm not seeing a lot of people cut pricing. Now, I am seeing incentives being put in place to help people bridge the marketing gap. For example, buy 3, get 1 free, or buy 4, get more. So that means if you buy 4 ads, we're going to double the size of your 4th ad. You got to print the ad anyway. So if they're running a half-page ad, it's not going to hurt you too much to go ahead and give them the full page. So buy 4, get more. Or there's all kinds of other incentive that you could potentially come up with. But the marketing gap is a great conversation to have with advertisers, because what it does is it shows that you care. It shows that you're paying attention to the marketplace. And you can just pay attention by looking and seeing who's advertising elsewhere. Now, a question has come across the chat line. The question is, do you use this strategy on customers that already existed? I say, yes, you do. So if you've got 2 customers within a category, let's say in the B2B space, all right, so I see that Jamie's here on the line that does a lot of sales in the medical space, all right, I've got 2 MRI companies, and one of them has backed off their marketing and one continued strong. I think I called the one that backed off and said, during COVID, you guys backed down on your marketing spend. I have a concern. May I share my concern with you? Sure, Ryan. What's the concern? What I've noticed is over the course of the last 90 days, a bit of a marketing gap has been created. Your nearest competitor, Philips or whatever, continued to market, continue to do webinars, continue to do digital e-newsletters, things like that. And so what they've done is they've created a marketing gap. People have not been hearing from you, not been hearing your name. And so as they get to a point where they're making decisions, my concern is that the marketing gap is big enough that we haven't had an opportunity to close it. And I'm calling you today to strategize about how we can close that marketing gap. So 2 big things, friends. One is controlling the narrative and making sure you're staying positive. Then as you think through the marketing gap, it's a great conversation piece to potentially have with folks. And then also don't forget to be talking to people about, it's usually more cost effective to stay out there than to drop your dollars, come back in, drop your dollars and come back in. It's almost always more cost effective to do that. Okay, a real quick pause on number 5 here. We got 5 more to go. And I just always like to pause in the middle of our webinars to always thank the people that brought us here. Those of you that know me well know that I didn't do anything for free. So, well, I do some things for free. The magazine manager and the newspaper manager graciously called and said, hey, we'd like to bring our customers here. And Ryan, by the way, you can bring your folks here as well, and we will cover the cost of this webinar. So I would encourage you to reach out to those folks if you're looking for a different CRM or whatever, and give them big thanks. By the way, the email that you received from me to come to this webinar was sent through a new product that they have called the Marketing Manager. So if you're tired of all the high fees you're paying on HubSpot, the Marketing Manager is something that could potentially help you. And so I've actually switched from MailChimp over to the Marketing Manager. A lot more cost effective and a heck of a lot easier to use. So thank you, friends. All right, moving on. Number 6, buyers have been putting things off. And friends, the reason this is important is because every piece of evidence that I've seen is that buying slowed. Now, the economy in the background, thank goodness the economy kept roaring in the background, albeit we saw a pretty good drop in the Dow yesterday and the S&P, but it's already coming back up today. Buyers have been putting things off. So the reason now is a time to advertise, it's perfect. So here's what I would encourage you to consider. Researching categories, whether it's B2B or consumer, researching categories where consumers, buyers in the commercial world, have delayed, have put things off. Let me give you some examples. It wasn't but, I guess, 2 hours ago that I was working with a newspaper group called Western News and information out of Arizona. And great group of newspapers that covers Arizona. And one of the things we identified is that people have put off HVAC service, heating and air conditioning. We identified that people have put off going to the dentist. We identified that people have put off automotive repairs. And then we also identified that people have put off elective surgeries. So what we determined is we've got some great categories where buying would have normally occurred pre-COVID that went dormant during COVID. Then we're looking back at those categories. We're using our CRM to build some contact groups within the CRM to go after those categories. We're reaching out to the buyers, the consumers, or the buyers rather, and being able to say, the advertisers, sorry, and we're saying, Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser, we know that your buying cycle went a little dormant during COVID-19. We've got some bounce back programs that are cost effective as a way to get your brand, your name, your service out in front of these folks in a very vibrant way, because people are going to get back to buying. Now, don't be misled by a lot of the things that you might hear on the news, friends. If you look at the facts are the stock market in the background continues to roll on. Unemployment continues to go down. We're not talking politics today. That's not where I'm at. I'm looking at the facts. So the facts are, in almost every category of buying, people are beginning to go back out and spend in the consumer space and the B2B space. But consumer attitudes are different. And this is a very important point for us to focus on for just a couple minutes. Whatever it is that you're selling, whatever it is that people are buying, customers' attitudes have changed. They just have. No, doesn't matter their political affiliation, their attitudes have changed. Okay, pre-COVID, did you fear pre-COVID in going to a business and engaging with them? Pre-COVID, did you fear for your safety? The answer is probably not, because there really wasn't much to fear. What is a business owner gonna conk you over the head or something like that? No. So there wasn't this fear for your safety pre-COVID. Post-COVID, there is a fear for safety. That's why events, unfortunately, are being canceled. A lot of folks aren't engaging with local businesses in vibrant ways because there is a fear for safety in a post-COVID world. Okay, whether you agree or disagree, stop the chat. Whether you agree or disagree is not the point. Okay, it's not the point. We're not doing politics today, friends. Number two, customer attitudes on stranger danger. Okay, you guys have all heard me talk about stranger danger. Since birth, you've been taught not to talk to strangers. You guys are great with all your comments. Okay, you've been taught since birth not to talk to strangers. All right, pre-COVID though, it was sort of 50-50. Would you engage with a business you didn't know? Well, yeah, I mean, probably so. You don't really fear for your safety as far as stranger danger goes. It was kind of a 50-50 thing. Well, now the answer is yes. Are you going to engage with a new business, whether it's B2B or consumer, that you don't know? The answer is, I mean, there is fear there because you're like, who is it? How are they dealing with these things? And now you've got the circumstances, the social conversation that's happening right now that's in play as well from a stranger danger perspective. All right, customer attitudes on trust. Pre-COVID, it was sort of like, it's not that I don't trust you as a business. It's like, I mean, I trust you, I don't trust you. It's kind of, you know, So, well, post-COVID, the overall trust of a business is pretty much zero because you don't quite know. It might be a little bit higher than zero, but if you don't know somebody and you've never engaged with them, you have no reason to trust them or not to trust them. So when asked, do you trust them? It's like, So it could be 50-50, but it's probably pretty low post-COVID. Here's what's interesting though, and this is great for us in the ad sales business, the need for a product or service. So pre-COVID, Steve from Vorsight Consulting, and I forget Steve's last name. I think it is, what is Steve? I got the sheet here. Steve Richard from Vorsight Consulting. He said in any given category of any given business, B2B or consumer, about 5% of people in that category are actively in need of a product or service and are looking to do something. Universally, B2B or consumer, and there's about a 3% sway on that in that category. Looking at my notes here, 56% of people, according to Foresight Consulting, are in awareness mode. They're just becoming aware of a product or service, about 56%. 40% of people, approximately, are sort of in that research-ish mode. So basically around 95% of people are not looking to do anything in any given category. They're fine being made aware of a product or service. They're fine having some research, doing some research, but only about 4, 5, 6% of people are actually looking to pull the trigger on something and make a decision to do business. Well, what's interesting is in a post-COVID world, that number has got to be higher. It's just got to be higher because we've put off so much stuff. We've put off the buying. Now, maybe we didn't put off research. Maybe we researched while we were in lockdown mode, but we definitely have put off the buying of that. So I'm saying to you, and I have no science to back this up. This is my gut, and I believe that my gut is pretty darn accurate. My gut is telling me that in a post-COVID world, more people are buying now than they probably would have been buying pre-COVID in a very finite length of time. And that finite length of time is now into the fourth quarter of the year, or whatever your circumstance is, whatever your buying cycle circumstance is. Now, how do you explain this to an advertiser? I don't know that you want to show them necessarily this graph per se, but it's a good conversation to have. And the reason it's a good conversation is because I think they're going to know that you're right. Now's the time to advertise because people are researching, they're buying, they've put things off, they're ready to get back to business. Now, pretty much universally across the country, when I'm talking to business owners, they're like, yeah, let's get back going, whether it's manufacturing or a small business or a large business. Guys, I've done 76 hours of webinars for advertisers, for businesses. And they email me all the time and they're like, hey, we're ready to get back to some level of normalcy, whatever that means for their particular business. Okay, so to that end, number 7 of 10, very important for you to help the advertiser help themselves. Here's what's interesting. It's kind of sad, actually. What's interesting is the number of advertisers that we deal with that can barely run their own businesses, much less make a great marketing decision. Who's with me on that? We got people making marketing decisions in a lot of our circumstances, people making marketing decisions that really shouldn't be making marketing decisions, especially when I hear somebody say, I only buy measurable media. Okay, well, what does measurable mean? So a click is measurable, doesn't equal sales. You know, I could argue with them all day long. So here's what I like to say to advertisers. I might say, Mrs. Advertiser, never assume that people know the best way to engage with you. Most people need to be led. So during a crisis, people clamor for leadership. Post-crisis, people right now are still clamoring for leadership. Look at it, no matter what news channel you watch, people want to be led. So do advertisers. And that's where we fit in, friends. It's a very, very cool responsibility that we have to our advertisers, and that is they want us to lead them down a path that's going to help them recover some of what they've lost over the last 90 days or whatever their circumstance is. Okay, now this graph, all of you have seen before. If you're a fan, a friend, whatever, you've all seen this. The probability of selling to an existing customer is 60 to 70%. While the probability of selling to a new prospect is only 5 to 20%. Okay, 2 sides to this. First side is for you, for all of you. So your probability of selling either an upgrade or more to an existing customer is 60 to 70%. Doesn't matter whether you're selling software, radio ads, magazine ads, newspaper ads, you're a lot more likely to sell to somebody that's already advertised or bought from you. The probability of selling to somebody new is 5 to 20%. Now, what's interesting is in a post-COVID world, I do think you have a better opportunity to sell to a new person because everybody needs to recover at this point. Okay, now let's flip the coin. We're talking to an advertiser. When I'm advising my business owners, not you guys, I'm talking about business owners that I'm selling, marketing services to. They are far more likely to engage with somebody that's already done business with them than somebody that's never done business with them. Let me give you an example, consumer example. It is way more likely that a restaurant in Aiken, South Carolina that I've already ate at before is going to get me back, then I'm going to go to a brand new place. Why is that? Stranger danger, been there before, know the people, pretty much have a general idea of how it's going to be set up to keep me safe. Make sense? B2B example. If I'm going to be dealing with a company that I'm buying large scale products or services from, in a post-COVID world, I'm always going to gravitate towards an area of trust. You know, maybe I can get a little better deal over here, but I already know these guys. I don't know these new folks. And so people's brains, basically when you go through a crisis, what you do is you seek areas of refuge. You seek things that keep you safe. You seek things that make you feel safe. And that's why I'm advising all of my business owners, hey, your plans, your advertising should be a lot more focused on your past customers than your new customers, because you're a lot more likely to sell them. So what I'm also advising them is to understand what is the format of communication. And if you will become an advisor and not an ad salesperson, all of a sudden you're going to start making more money. There's 3 things I want to do in every communication with my customers if I'm a business owner. And this is what you're advising your business owners or your companies to do. In their communications, whether it's programmatic, Facebook, sponsored content, whatever. Number 1, always focus on why that past customer is important. Okay, it's easiest to do this in an email, but you can do it in print ads and social posts as well. Number 2, you've got to tell that potential customer what you want them to do. Now, friends, by the way, this applies to you selling an ad, but what I'm talking about is you sitting with an advertiser and trying to help them bounce back their business. You being on the phone with an agency that doesn't know their head from a hole in the ground as it relates to that business. You know I'm telling the truth out there. Hey guys, here's what you need to do. I'm seeing it work. Number 2, tell them what you want them to do. Number 3, tell them how to interact with you. You have to tell them that. Okay, let me show you a couple examples. And some of you have seen these, but I want to show them again for those that haven't, and I'll go through them moderately quickly so we stay on track of time for the day, okay? Oh, before I show you this. Okay, so about a year ago, I bought a rather expensive grill. I like outdoor cooking. And my wife was like, okay, cool, whatever. She didn't really know how much it was going to cost. But anyway, so maybe a month ago during COVID, I get this email from Fireside Grills. Number 1, they stated why I was important. Hi, Ryan, you bought a Kamado Joe grill from us last year. You are VIP to us. Okay, cool. I like being VIP. Okay. Number 2, they told me what to do. They led me. Here are 3 accessories you need to take your cooking to the next level. I didn't need any of them, but I did want them. They're just expensive. Number 3, they told me what to do, told me how to interact with them. As a VIP client, you're entitled to 35% off, or share your VIP discount with your buddy Scott. I mean, it doesn't say that, but I know that's what they meant. Please check out this link. Okay, you see how they followed that format? Another example, okay, of maybe somebody that's a restaurant as an example, and we'll do B2B in a second. State why the person is important. Hey, Ryan, you dined with us a few months back. We miss seeing you. This could be a text or an email. Tell them what you want them to do. RSVP now for our outdoor seating, only 10 tables per night. They're telling me what they want me to do. Number 3, told me how to interact with them. All tables are 10 feet apart. Our kitchen staff offers a sparkling clean promise. Text us now for your reservation. Okay, so the same thing applies in the B2B space. If we're advising our customers, okay, we're advising our customers to go after, to get more out of the customers they've already sold, those ads, social ads, etc., are going to feature testimonials. So you want to talk with your advertisers about, hey, let's feature your happy customers in your ads, because happy customers are as good as a referral. Okay, so that's really important for you to understand that. Happy customers, that's really almost as good as an implied referral. Feature testimonials in your ad, testimonials in your social posts. I'm advising my B2B customers. Okay, now again, just to be really clear, I sell advertising, okay, to businesses that want to get business. So I'm saying to them, hey, get on a Skype call and record some testimonials with your customers. Then what we can do is feature those on our magazine's social feed, on our media company's social feed on your behalf. And of course, we're charging for that. But I'm using past customers to lower stranger danger and fear to drive new customer sales. So we all do this already. We, as advertising sales professionals, will say, oh man, John Doe over here loves marketing with us. You should market too. Well, now I'm advising my customers in a post-COVID world, hey, use your happy customers to A, get more out of them, but B, use your past happy customers to beat stranger danger and to get more referrals, implied referrals for more business. Friends, it's this type of thing as you become a marketing advisor. When you become a marketing advisor, friends, all of a sudden you're not selling ads, you're helping people, and people love that. All right, so for my advertisers, I want them to change their message when talking to current versus new customers. See, a lot of them, they got their creative approved at the beginning of the year. Well, their creative now has to look different from a couple of perspectives. Hey, pay attention. From a couple perspectives, I noticed a couple of things that we put out completely unintentionally. If you read them, you would look at it and go, oh my, okay, that comes across a little wrong in light of all the social conversations and movements that we're seeing across the country right now. It was completely unintentional, but you got to look at a creative from a lot of different circumstances. So I think you want to change the message. Creating loyalty programs. All of you should do this. Your advertisers should do it as well. How about this? 62% of customers out there said in a recent study that special pricing would influence them. Now, I'm not talking about discounts because I firmly believe, and I know a lot of you sent me emails, that's fine, whatever. You argue with me about this. Everybody's discounting, I need to discount too. Okay, well, everybody's going and jumping into that, don't follow the crowd, friends, okay? Don't follow the crowd. If 62% of customers want a special price, we'll create an incentive for them. It doesn't mean that you have to discount and say, I'm going to give you 50 bucks off. I like to buy 3, get 1 free, or buy 4 ads, get more from me. Or if you buy 100,000 impressions, we'll give you another 50,000 for free, or something along those lines. I just believe when you say, hey, 25% off across the board, you buy it. It's hard for me to get back to the price. Hey, a lot of you tried that in 06, 07, 08, 09, and you're still clamoring to get those prices back. So be careful about that. Can you offer payment plans? If you can or they can, that'd be good. You want to be really proactive with your programs, your stimulus programs or whatever it is. And then I'm always working with my advertisers to understand multiple ways, multiple days. You've got to choose at least 3 marketing channels if you're going to be effective in the grand scheme of things. All right, now we don't have I see a lot of you are asking about discounting. For me, discounting to me means cutting a price just to cut a price to stay competitive with somebody else. Somebody asked a good question. Let's pause for a second, answer the question. What if your competitors are slashing prices? My response to an advertiser that says, Ryan, well, your nearest competitor is 50% off. I look them right in the eye on that Zoom call or get them on the phone and say, there's a reason they can do that. Do successful businesses cut prices 50%? I don't think so. And I think that's kind of the end of that conversation. All right, subject lines. A lot of you are asking about subject lines. Subject lines have to be unique and they have to be brand new. All right, so here's the 5 or 6 that I'm using right now. And these are different than what some of you saw a few weeks ago when we were talking about subject lines and some other webinars. I like post-COVID biz strategy. Let's keep my subject lines, about 3 words. How about business recovery strategy? Question mark, like what is it? Customers next month, like do you need customers or customers tomorrow? Question mark. New idea, post-COVID marketing. Okay. Your competitive strategy? Question mark. Moving forward, new idea or new ideas. I'm finding all these get me a good response. And somebody just chatted across those seem salesy. Yeah, Mark, no kidding, they're salesy. You're in sales, bro. These seem salesy. I know Mark, by the way. I'm not just chastising him. Of course, these seem salesy. You're in sales, man. You got to come up with some new subject lines. But here's the thing about subject lines and experimentation. It's important for all of us to recognize that if everybody on the sales team is doing something different, then we're not benefiting from collective learning. So here's what I would do. Publishers, ad directors, GMs, whatever, is I would say, okay, Bill, you try this one. For 6 or 10 emails. Okay, Bonnie, you try this one. Julie, you try this one. Okay, Brandon, you try this one. Melissa, you try this one. Okay, Gabriel, you try this one. And then what you do is you guys monitor, don't be doing a bunch of random work, monitor these things. And then what you'll find is, okay, which one's working and which one's not working. It's called collective learning. Okay, and when you collectively learn together, you get some great data. Side note, brief example, was working the beginning of this week with the awesome folks at MetroCorp. They have Boston Magazine and they have Philly Magazine, Philadelphia Magazine. In Boston Magazine, Lynn up there, she gave me 7 proposals that didn't work and 7 proposals that did. And what we did is we compared the two. And what we found was pretty amazing. Like, for example, proposals with 3 options always sold more. Proposals less than 7 pages always sold more. It was called collective learning. And so when you think about this, you've got to not just go a bunch of random subject lines, have a partner, an experimenting partner. And you do a bunch of subject lines for a while and they do a bunch of subject lines for a while. And then what you'll find is collectively you'll figure out which ones are working and which ones aren't working. Somebody asked, how do I know that they work? Because that's exactly what I do. I send out a certain subject line to at least 20 people to see what kind of response I get. And then I use my Google tools to monitor open rates, and things along those lines. Now I've got this thing I call Ryan's email rule of 3 and 3. And that's 3 words in the subject line, 3 sentences max per email. And I try never to violate that rule. So 3 words in the subject line, 3 sentences max. Ryan's email rule of 3 and 3, copyright Ryan Dorn. So take that one to the bank. All right, email templates so that you'll quit chatting across to me. Some of you are just like, you're like rock and roll comedians. And then I've got a heckler, everybody. I got a heckler on the line today. And you don't ever give in to a heckler because then it goes nowhere from there. All right, email templates. As an example, okay, hi Jill. We're seeing some light at the end of the old tunnel over here. May I share some ideas with you as you look to reboot your business? Or maybe you could say, would Tuesday or Wednesday be a better time for me to share some ideas with you as you look to reboot your business? So I think I could fine tune that one so it wasn't a yes or a no at the end of it. So, hi John, I've got some good news to share. Our website traffic is really spiking. May I share some ideas on how we can work together as we get back to business? Now, I don't mind yes or no ending of questions. I know some of you have been taught that, whether it was Zig Ziglar or Sandler or Dale Carnegie or Jeffrey Gitomer or whatever. Never ask a yes or no question. I'm okay with it, and I do it quite often, but you could rephrase that. You could say, would Wednesday at 2 o'clock be a great time? Would Wednesday at 2 or 3 be better for us to share some ideas to get back to business? Hi, Kathy. I see that your competitor, AMCS, has relaunched their marketing efforts. Let's strategize about your bounce back plans. Is Tuesday or Wednesday better for a chat? Now, here's something for you I don't think I've said before. I've actually changed my time strategy a little bit, meaning when I ask for a time. So, hey, quit checking your email. Pay attention for a second. I got a good one for you here. A lot of times what I'll say is, may I call you Tuesday sometime after 2 to chat about this? Or I might say, if I might be so bold, I will call you Tuesday sometime after 2 to chat about this. Now, I typically will say, may I call you like Wednesday after 3 to chat with you about this? What I find is when I give somebody a range of time as opposed to a specific time, I get a lot more sure, that's fine. And then it's kind of like I can call back as many times as I want after 2 until they pick up. The other thing is people get busy. So if you have a meeting at 2 o'clock, they can't be on the sales call with you, the meeting goes busted, that's okay. I can keep calling them back because they said it was okay to call them sometime after 2. Now, I know that flies directly in the face of every piece of sales training you've ever been taught. Always get specific on a time. Well, here's the thing, guys. Things change, times change. And when things are starting to work for me, I want to share them with you. I think it's important for us to do that. Next strategy for you in re-engaging these customers, recognize that voicemails to drive an email reply is critical. I don't ever say my name first. I ask them to reply to the email. I even say you don't have to call me back. So it might be something along these lines. I might use my email template. Hey, Jill, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel over here, and I've got some great ideas to share with you. I just sent you an email about rebooting your business. If you could give me a quick reply to that email, boy, I would sure appreciate it. And by the way, you don't even need to call me back. I know you're busy. Don't call me back. Give me a quick reply to that email. I'd appreciate it. Oh, by the way, it's Ryan Dorn calling from MBS Media or whatever your circumstances. Now, some of you, that's going to be hard because you always want to say, hi, Ryan Dorn calling from the Daily Herald. And they're just going to hang up on you, so it's not going to get you very far. So again, the voicemail would be, hey, John, I have got some great news to share with you. Our website traffic is spiking. We've got some great ideas as you guys are looking to bounce back to business. I sent you an email, subject line, traffic is spiking. If you could give me a quick reply to that email, you don't need to call me back. Oh, and by the way, it's Ryan Dorn calling from the Kinder Cup or whatever your circumstance is. I never leave my name, rank, and serial number first. I haven't done that for years, and it's always really worked for me. So I'm using voicemails to drive my email replies, and it's critical. It's something that I've been doing for quite some time, and it works really, really well. Good questions, by the way, coming across. There's no way we're going to get to all these questions, but you guys are awesome. Okay, marketing is not the same as magic. Woot woot! Can I get a woot woot from the group? Marketing is not the same as magic. Advertisers want to run an ad with us, and they want awesome things to happen. Well, things are going to happen, but you know, what do you hope to see? Okay, what date do you hope to see some action from your marketing plans? And if they say, well, third quarter, well, it's not going to happen just like this. So when I'm asking marketers questions, if we could create the perfect ad campaign for you, what would that look like? Marketing doesn't happen like this. Now, somebody might get a like, or they might get a share, or a heart on Instagram or whatever, but it really just doesn't work like that. Now, I'm not going to go through this graph because you guys have all seen it before, but even Nielsen tells us that it's going to take a minimum of 10 exposures before someone's going to respond to an ad. I mean, a minimum of 10 exposures. And I know that you guys, a lot of you have seen this before, so we won't spend a tremendous time on this, but here's what I've observed. If an advertiser wants one customer to get a reaction to their ad, they're going to need to put approximately 10 ads, okay, in front of somebody over a 30-day period of time in 3 different channels to get the ROI that they actually want. That's what the math tells us. So here are the 10 exposures here over a 30-day period of time. Now, what I've observed is it needs to be in 3 different channels. So the baby blue line is a customer's intent to purchase. It's going to go up and down because we're humans until someone gets enough information, and then it drops. Why does it drop? It drops in this little valley. It drops there because people are going to be researching. In this little valley, it drops because people are researching during this little valley. When they have a need, okay, need, N-E-E-D, okay? When they have a need, then all of a sudden the marketing bump occurs. That's the MB, the marketing bump. Okay, I like that name, by the way, copyright Ryan Dorn, MB, in case you're trying to write a book on that. Okay, so you got to ask yourself, Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser, what can I do to get one customer to respond? Is going to be, they're going to need to see 10 ads in a 30-day period of time at a minimum. They're going to need 3 different channels if they're going to get the ROI that they actually want. That's the math that's behind it. And if you want more on that, I've got a video on that. Just drop me an email and I can pop that over to you. But it's an important piece for you to recognize. Okay, number 10. So what's your sales plan? Okay, what is it? What are the 3 things from this webinar that you can take today and potentially put into action? What are those 3 things? So let's review these together, and I want you to pick 3 things. If you're like short-minded here, pick one thing, I don't care. But what are the 3 things you're gonna do? Okay, number 1, controlling the narrative. That is having a very positive conversation. Number 2, be really careful how you start that sales call. How you doing? Be careful about that. Number 3, advising your advertisers to avoid the cattle stampede of marketing. As companies start back to marketing, they can get a greater share of voice now than they will here in a couple of months. So if they want exclusivity, now's the time to grab that market share. You might not get exclusivity, but close. Number 4, not all marketing is about new business development. Okay, a lot of it is about protecting your turf. I think that's super important. Okay, brand maintenance. Love that. Number 5, explain the marketing gap. What does the marketing gap look like? And I know about 40 or 50 of you joined late after point number 5, so we'll send this video to you here in a couple of hours, a link to watch it. Number 6, buyers have been putting things off, so now's the time to advertise. People are researching, people are buying right now. Now's the time to advertise. Number 7, you got to help the advertisers help themselves. If they're trying to run the same ads from pre-COVID in a post-COVID world, their message could be misaligned. Number 8, you got to use some new subject lines. Follow that rule of 3 and 3. I think that's important too. Number 9, marketing's not magic. Okay, marketing takes time. It takes 30 days to get the correct message in front of people. Minimum of 10 times, 3 different channels. I mean, it's not easy. If marketing was as easy as buying Facebook, that's what Taco Bell would do. That's what Michelin tires would do. That's what Boeing and Lockheed would do. They would never do anything other than Facebook. So we know that that's not the holy grail of advertising. And then the last thing then, friends, is what's your plan? What is the plan? What 3 things can you take away from this conversation today that you can potentially, put into action? All right, so, we really want you to reach out to Mirable Technologies, magazine manager, the newspaper manager, and thank them for their participation. But I'd also like to connect with you online, whether it's Ryan Dorn Live or on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. But just remember, if advertising was easy, everybody be doing it. I mean, they're not. And I've said that for years, and people just don't take it seriously. If advertising was easy, friends, everybody would be doing it. And they're not. So you've got to ask yourself, I mean, what is it that I'm doing? What is it that I'm doing right? What am I doing wrong? And what can I do to make a difference in my sales life for a lifetime? Here's 10 things that you can do right now to make a big change in your sales life. And I think you'll be very, very successful. Okay, if I can help you, if I can help your company, I'm doing all kinds of virtual training. So I'm not gonna be able to come to your office live probably for a few more months. Love to get connected with you. But more than anything, I'd really like all of you guys to really be thankful and reach out and say thank you to the fine folks at the magazine manager and the newspaper manager, and now the marketing manager for your opportunity to be here today at absolutely no charge. So reach out to those folks, whether it's Greg or Andy or Susan or whoever it is over there. Lots of great folks, Jacob, etc. Reach out to them and just say, hey, thanks for that Ryan Dorn webinar. I found it to be extremely helpful. Okay, friends. Well, God bless all of you. Get out there and sell something and be safe. And just remember, if this was easy, everybody would be doing it, and they're not. So we've got some new ideas and some new things that can take our sales game today now to the very, very next level. All right, friends, thanks so much. We'll see you out on the street. Take care.